Rugby World Cup semi-final number 2, folks. England against South Africa. And it is a semi-final fitting of a semi-final as South Africa go through with a 1-point margin into the final against the All Blacks. A 78th minute penalty getting the job done for them. The scrum. South African scrum manages to beat that English kicking game at the end of the day. But we will go through some key events and stats. And you guys can let us know your thoughts. Very wet in Paris. Running the ball, maybe not the order of the day for both of these sides. England started the better of the two sides easily. South Africa looked rattled early. Alex Mitchell with his box kicks, and England just chasing those high balls, looking to tap it back. Very similar to what we saw South Africa doing to France last week. England were doing back to South Africa. Early penalty to England, 3-0 after Daly had kind of tapped the ball back to get England some field position. South Africa losing their first line out, struggling with the high balls. They just couldn't catch them clean. Mitchell on 7 minutes, a great box kick into the South African 22. And then South Africa with the line out not being straight gives England another chance. Earl's off the back of the scrum. Couple of carries before Khaleesi gives away a penalty at the breakdown. So 6-0 early to England. What a way to start this game after being largely written off this one. And many people were expecting it to be a similar story to what happened to Argentina yesterday, but not the case. England, though, did concede a pretty soft offside penalty on 13 minutes, being in front of the kicker. And South Africa, kind of like New Zealand did yesterday, going for the jugular. They went for touch. They wanted to maul it. The first maul gets stopped. A bit of handbags. But the referee rules that Manu Tuilagi putting his arm around Kobus Reinach, that sparked the whole thing. So he gets pinged for it. So South Africa, go for touch again. Moore gets stopped again, although they're able to get the ball out the back. This time South Africans, Mostert with his first carry, knocks it on. It's a scrum. Penalty conceded by South Africa. So England are able to exit kind of no damage done. So England takes 6 points from their first attacking play. South Africa, nothing much doing. 19 minutes, a high ball taken by Daly. But then Mitchell concedes a penalty for sealing off. Means that the South Africans get a chance to go for 3. But mainly only because Farrell wouldn't release the ball. Corner, after the penalty is conceded, and it's in South Africa's half, Kobus Reinach wants the ball to play, but Farrell won't give it to him. There's a little bit of argy-bargy going on from before as well, but the fact that he didn't release the ball sees his team marched 10 metres. That gives the South Africans a chance to take a shot at goal, which they do. They're not going for touch anymore after kind of learning the lesson, I guess, that England's defence at more time is looking pretty solid. It's a semi-final. You take the points. South Africa take the points, so 6 points to 3. In the scheme of that game, 10 metres, looking kind of costly in that regard. More kicks both ways. Willemse at one point, he's being tackled in his after taking a high ball. He took it, but then he passes it under pressure, being tackled to nobody. England pounce on it. South Africa concede another penalty at the breakdown, so England extend the lead back to 6. South Africa had one of their kind of few attacking lineouts of either side in that first half when they put Arendse through for a line break, but they got turned over by Laws not long later. South Africa had another lineout not straight. It was pretty frustrating. And on 31 minutes, the first of a few big calls by the South African coaching staff to sub Manu Libbok. He looked to be holding his fingers a little bit, but it looked like it was mainly just a tactical substitution. So Manu Libbok comes off, and Curry goes off as well, but his is for blood. He comes back on. So Manu Libbok off, Pollard on. You get a couple of handling errors from England before halftime. Daly and Billy V, who's come on as the blood sub for Tom Curry, means they got a lot of pressure on in their own 22. Eventually, they concede a penalty. South Africa opt for a 3-pointer, so they make it 9 points to 6. And then there's another high ball issue for South Africa where Pieter-Steph is pinged for a bit of obstruction. It's only like one step. It's a pretty soft penalty, but you can't be doing that kind of stuff. Soft penalty, and England make no mistake. So 12 points to 6 at halftime. All the points have come from the boots. The poots. There you go. So halftime, man, there's been very little running. You got 92 metres England, 92 metres South Africa. For context, the day before the other semi-final, 263 metres each team. by half time. So 92 metres each is a low number, but again, playing to the conditions. There's been 22 kicks from England, 14 by South Africa. South Africa's only had the only 2 clean breaks of the game. England has not managed to break the South African line, but the South African lineout's 8 from 11, so a little bit, not reliable. England is 3 from 4. Penalties conceded is 7-6. England have conceded 1 more, so it's pretty tight at half-time. But so England are still ahead on the scoreboard. Second half, a couple of South African players make errors and immediately get substituted. Corbus Reinach, a poor box kick, immediately gets subbed. Faf de Klerk comes on. Then Willemse spills the ball into touch after it's been kicked to him. Immediately subbed. Willie Leroux comes on. So I don't know if those were planned, but it seemed to be not mucking around. They needed to see a different picture in that second half. England had a 5-metre attacking line out. Their turn to go not straight. I feel like that, if you're England, man, you look back on this, that one is that's a chance to really, put the pressure on South Africa. But because they didn't have that many chances down South Africa's end, not straight is a real let-off. And then you get 45 minutes, Snyman coming on for Ebenezer. Maybe that's a decision from the coaching staff that the nature of this game, you're going to need, you need someone to help break the game open, because Snyman can do that with his skill set. And then Mostert with his tackling is maybe going to be a vital man. And he is South Africa's top tackler. So they usually substitute Mostert, but not this case. South Africa go through some phases. England win a turnover. Mitchell kicks it out on the full. Neither side's really able to get on top. But then from 50 minutes, South Africa's scrum starts to get on top. And this is the beginning of the end for England. How kind of fitting is it for South Africa that their scrum is the one that wins in the game? They get a tight head, so it's an England feed. South Africa win the ball on 50 minutes. They get a nice attacking play, which has been hard to come by, like a cross kick to Colby. Colby puts Villy. I think Villy goes through a grubber, but it's too deep, so nothing comes of it, but it's ominous for England. They do get the momentum back, England, on 53 minutes when Farrell kicks his drop goal. That's the best moment for England in the second half, because that's the only points they get. But it was a really well-taken drop goal. Like, really, really good hit of the ball. Pretty decent distance on it. Decent angle, but he nails it. So 15-6, it's a 2-score game. Can England hold on? Initially, it looks like yes, because holding on is basically what they're doing for the rest of the game. Kriel knocks it on with his first touch. South Africa keep kicking the ball to Freddie Steward, and I'm shaking my head like, why? I know it's raining, but Freddie Steward is a very good high ball catcher. He's very good under the high ball. And then kicking it to him unopposed is just free. Like, you're just giving the ball away for free. I don't understand. I know there's a bit of territorial gain, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And then when they kick it back to the Springboks, Willie Leroux knocks it on. So they're losing a bit of that aerial contest still, but the scrum, 59 minutes. South Africa are on their own line due to their mishandling of the ball, but they get a scrum penalty. That leads to a line-out move, which Danny Kerr ends up tackling Bongi and Bonambi into touch. So England kind of nullify it, but the writing is on the wall after winning a scrum from England's feed to getting a tight head, and then second getting a scrum penalty. Yeah, it's looking ominous for England in that regard. The scrum is going to be the way back into the game for South Africa. The ref, though, did warn both sides on 62 minutes that if he sees more medics and water carriers coming on, he's going to start giving away penalties. Fortunately, he didn't need to. But then 63 minutes, another South African scrum penalty. They lose the line out. But you can feel it's coming. May shuts down Colby. England win a breakdown penalty. But then another knock-on. Knock-ons, man, lead to scrums. Scrums lead to penalties. And then finally, South Africa get it to click. You give them enough chances, man, it's going to happen. 68 minutes. It's a line out about 7 meters out from England's line. They line out, win. They win the line out for a change. Fourie goes bloody close on the charge. In next phase, Snyman is able to kind of twist over and dot the ball down amongst some of the English backs. I think it was like Marchant and whatnot. They couldn't stop him. Great conversion as well. Means it's a 2-point game. South Africa, I swear, are doing your best to lose it because they don't catch the restart. But, yeah, they still manage to kind of not look under any real defensive pressure. Willie Leroux at one point, he marks the ball and calls for a scrum, but they don't get a penalty from it. That's one of the few times in the second half when there was a scrum and there wasn't a penalty. But then on 75 minutes, Freddie Steward puts an up and under through. It's not really big enough, and both sides knock it on. Mean there's a scrum. The scrum gets advantage to South Africa. It's a 49-metre penalty for Andre Pollard, and he absolutely nails it. So South Africa go in front for the first time with about 2 minutes to go. England, they had to chase the game. It's not really been a strength of theirs to cut teams to bits at this World Cup, and so it proved. They did go through a bunch of phases. They were in South Africa's half for a while. If South Africa had conceded a penalty, it might have been all over, but their defence holds. They end up pushing England back, and eventually England knock it on. South Africa through to the final. There's handbags after the whistle, but the ref just says, guys, calm down. The game is over. Run meters finished 246 to 188 to England. England have got 41 kicks from hand to 29. England finished with more possession, 56%. Territory's pretty even. But man, their scrum got pumped. It was 3 from 7. The scrum got absolutely monstered. South Africa's was 7 from 8, just that one that they got pinged in the first half. Clean breaks, 3-zip to South Africa. England concede more penalties, 11 to South Africa's 8. A lot of those at scrum time. Yeah, and even England's line-out only finished 7 from 10. South Africa's finished 15 from 19, so neither side line-out really clicked in the kind of poor conditions. Freddie Steward had 4 defenders beaten, which was the most of the game. From the back, Curry had 16 from 16 tackles. Itoje won a couple of turnovers. England were pretty good in those departments, but the bench I don't think had the same impact. The props came on and they got pinged. They still don't use Theo. I don't understand why he's in the team. You might as well just play another loose forward if you're going to play a guy who's not going to come off. I mean, he's there in case George gets injured, but it's a waste of a sub. And then Billy V on the bench kind of proves to be a bit of a waste of space. He knocks the ball on twice. Doesn't add a lot of value, I think, from the bench. Doesn't really get a lot of meters. Whereas South Africa's bench, the props come on. They win penalties for days. Dion Farrell comes on. He's a hooker replacement, but they play him as a loose forward. He's busy. Quokka Smith is busy. I mean, Arendse had the most run meters for South Africa at 27, which is not a heck of a lot. But I mean, Mostert made 18 from 18 tackles. Snyman's impact from the bench with his handling and scoring that try was amazing. Yeah, it's a tough one, but it was fitting of a semi-final. And South Africa through to face my All Blacks, which is going to be a massive game. And yeah, England into that game they didn't want to be playing in against Argentina for the bronze medal. You guys let us know your thoughts. Where was this game won and lost? How do you see things going next week in both the third place game and the final? Cheers for coming along for this one. If you want something to do between now and next week's rugby, I have a second YouTube channel called 2 Cents on Tour. I will link to it up there. It's very different from rugby stuff. Going around in China, seeing some sights and talking to some people, sometimes in Chinese, believe it or not. It's a totally different thing from a guy sitting in front of a whiteboard talking about rugby. But yes, look forward to the final next week. You can breathe again, South African fans. Have a wee drink. England, you guys can hold your head high. You were written off, but you got bloody close to a final. Take care, folks, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.